How are we, people? Hope you're well. Good morning to you all. I hope you had a fantastic weekend and enjoyed what was very sunny and then very dull and then very sunny and then very rainy and then very sunny again of a weekend. So I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you got up to some good things. I hope you enjoyed what you were up to with your families and your friends. So big up to all of you for being here so early. We've got a lot of transfer news to get through this morning. For a Monday morning, it's busy for the start of the week. How many of these stories are going to develop? I always wonder at the start of the week, you think, God, that's a busy week. And then it seems that by Friday, you're still talking about some of the same deals that haven't got across the line. That is the case if you are a Gooner. What is it like if you're a Premier League fan of any other club? Please let me know. Big up to everybody in the chat. And thank you for allowing us to get close to 21 to 22k. We need to get to 22k pretty quickly. We are almost there at 21.3. So let's make sure that we get there. Good morning to Emerson. Morning to Malva. Morning to Bradley. Morning to Chaz. I hope you're well, bruv. Morning to Matt. Morning to Ash. Morning to Tony. Morning to Judy Toon for Life. And good morning to everybody else that I've missed and also that are watching on catch up as well. Do me a favor and hit the like button. Make sure you hit subscribe. That is so important. We are trying to get to 30k pretty quickly, and we are getting there pretty quickly. So let's make sure we hit the like and the subscribe button, and then we can get to it. There is a lot of transfer news, and we are going to start with the Saudi Arabian moves because there's a lot of movement this morning in relation to who they want. And I said last night on the show, if you watched it, that I can see this being every summer now. This is just going to be the norm. There's going to be a lot of word of mouth about how much money you can get over in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabian teams can afford anybody, and it looks like they're going for some big names. And of course, one of them is KDB. Now, KDB was rumored to be leaving and agreeing personal terms with Al-Ittihad over in Saudi Arabia, but Fabrizio Romano has poo-pooed it and said that he is playing it down. KDB reaching an agreement with Al-Ittihad is told to be not true. They are focused on Moussa Diaby, which I'll touch on in a minute, and it's set to be sealed very soon. The next step, however, will be for the new goalkeeper, Ederson. Again, we'll touch on that very soon. So Romano doesn't think this is happening. KDB, there's rumours that he wants to leave. There's rumours that Saudi Arabia would like to talk to him, and it doesn't mean that there's no personal terms that are going to get done. It doesn't mean there's not going to be a fee that's agreed with a Saudi Arabian club. But it does mean at the moment that the rumours do not sound like they are 100% true. There's got to be something in this, though. For this to be spoken about this heavily for the last, 2-3 weeks now, I think there is something in it. And potentially KDB is being tempted and maybe torn because he doesn't quite know where to go. Does he stay at Manchester City for his final year? The Manchester City try and get money now? Does he sign an extension? Manchester City surely want him to get signed an extension. I mean, he's 33, isn't he, just? So he's got a good couple of years, at least, in my opinion, at the very top of his game. I think as a squad player, somebody who can guarantee you 15, 20 games a season is fine for Kevin De Bruyne. And if I'm honest with you, they needed him last season. And I'll say this, if they didn't have him last year, they wouldn't have won the league. You know, with the assist he got for the amount of games that he was actually available for, he has to stay at Manchester City as far as City fans are concerned. I think he would be a massive loss. Massive loss. And of course, as an Arsenal fan, I'm kind of hoping this one goes through. I don't know what sort of price they'd want him at. It would probably be a lot of money. But you know what? It wouldn't rule this one out. This could have some legs. So, yeah, let's take a look at what happens with this one. Now, the reason that Al-Ittihad might not go for KDB is because they have pretty much got the signing across the line of Moussa Diaby. This was here we go by Fabrizio Romano. It looks like Aston Villa are receiving £60 million, and that is a hell of a lot of money. If I'm honest with you, it's a good sale in relation to how much they've got, but he's a good player. And I just think for his age in his 20s, should he really be going to Saudi Arabia now? Some people think yes, go make a load of money, mate. Go do it and then come back in the Premier League or wherever you want to go in Europe after that when you're 27, 28. Maybe that's the way forward now for players. But I think it's sad that we're seeing talent like this from the Premier League leaving and going to Saudi Arabia. Now, I'm not making out that this is Luis Suarez or Thierry Henry leaving by any means. But he is a good player. And he had a very good season at Aston Villa. He started electric. Yeah, it faded a bit, but I think he's a talented boy. But he's no longer an Aston Villa player. And it looks as if he is definitely leaving. Sticking with Aston Villa, The player they would like to replace him with, apparently, is João Felix. Now, we all know about João Felix. He is still Atletico Madrid's player. Diego Simeone is not a fan. I don't think the relationship is strong. I believe, in fact, that it's pretty much broken down, and which was why they were trying to get rid of him. But there's something wrong with João Felix. He was so highly rated at Benfica, bought by Atletico Madrid for a lot of money. And then if you remember, he went over on loan at Chelsea. He's gone to Barcelona. He's never really been able to hold down a first-team place and get settled down at either of those clubs. Would Aston Villa under Unai Emery be a good move for him? Well, he's 24 years old. He's a talented boy. But what is he? Is he a centre forward? Is he a number 9? Is he a number 10? Is he more of a wide player? I don't know that he's really found a position yet in the team, and I don't know what signing this would be for Aston Villa. But I think Villa fans would be fairly excited about it. If someone can get him settled, if someone can actually get what he's about as a footballer, they've got a fantastic talent there. But 24 years old, still young. But when you haven't really got yourself settled or into a first team by 24, sometimes that can affect you. You need to get yourself into the mix of first team football. And for me, being a first team regular by the age of 22 to be what you want to be in life career wise. And I just think at 24, he hasn't really been able to settle himself. Why is that? Is he one of those players that's potentially a bit overrated and one of the players you think is not quite hit the potential that he could have? Maybe that is the case. So yeah, watch the space on João Felix. Sticking with Aston Villa, they are looking to offload Matty Cash. Now, he's only 26 years old. I thought he was older than that, but he has been around for what feels like forever. I think he was at Forest as a youngster. Been a good player for Villa, been a steady player, but one that I think needs upgrading, and Villa are looking to sell him. Maybe there's one of the promoted clubs that are looking at him, maybe in Ipswich Town or somebody like that. But at the moment, there's no massive offers gone in, but he is available and free from Aston Villa. Now, Al-Ittihad have obviously got Diaby. They're looking at KDB, but they want a new goalkeeper. And the goalkeeper that they are looking at is Ederson. And this one has legs because Ederson wants to go. From what we are hearing, Ederson is interested in a Saudi Arabian move, and Manchester City, if they can agree a fee, will let him go. Now, they want 50 to 60 million. The Saudi Arabian club, Al-Nassr, they actually offered 30, which I think is an absolute outrageous bid, if I'm honest. That's not going to touch the sides. This is a goalkeeper that's been world-class and pivotal to how Manchester City play in the last 5, 6, 7 years. I think he is going to cost easily 50 million plus. And so he should. He's a world-class goalkeeper. You can't get him for cheap. He's contracted at City. And he apparently would be interested in a move to Saudi Arabia because of how much money they're offering. Now, the wages are rumoured to be around £600,000 or £700,000 a week. I mean, that is absolutely crazy, isn't it? I mean, that is a madness amount of money. Ederson getting that sort of money is not going to happen anywhere else. So if he does want to be interested in going there, it will be for the money. And at 30 years old, him and KDB in their 30s, you can kind of understand why they want to go there, like an N'Golo Kante has. When a player like Diaby wants to go there, I find it a bit strange, if I'm honest. But money talks. Money talks indeed. Let's talk a little bit with João Felix. I'm just looking at it in the chat. With the Saudi Arabia position. I think this will happen every summer now. I think we're going to get a lot of links with players that are going to want to go over there for the money. But it would not surprise me if in a couple of years they just come back, earn a load of money, realise the grass ain't that greener, and then come back to European leagues or the Premier League. That's my honest opinion. I really do believe that. But for the money, 600-700 million, that is a hell of a lot. And lastly, before we move on to the next topic, what is going on at Manchester City? Why do KDB and Ederson want out? I mentioned this last night. Is it because they believe that potentially there's some problems or some rumblings at Manchester City? Is there going to be some news that comes out that isn't going to be too positive for Manchester City? These are all question marks, by the way. There's a lot of talk about it being up in the air, about the futures of Pep Guardiola, and is he going to stay on past next season? Are the court going to believe or find that Manchester City have done wrong? Are these charges going to affect them long term? These are all questions that people will now be asking. So we have to ask them. And I've said it before, a million times, I'll say it again. If they're innocent, cool, carry on with the game. If they're found guilty, they should be punished. And it should be points deductions. They should chuck the book at them if it's been that many. And that's all I've got to say on it, really, because I don't like to bring in the politics of football. I'm here to talk transfer news. But it is quite interesting that they seem to want to be leaving. So Let's see. Could it be an exodus? Pep leaves, Bernardo leaves, KDB leaves, Ederson leaves. Yeah, I'm kind of being hopeful now, but you never know. Let's see what happens. Let's talk Man United because they are doing things very differently. They're moving mad in this window already in terms of links, and it looks like they've agreed personal terms with Manuel Ugarte over at PSG. This one looks like it's probably going to be a matter of days before this happens. And the footballing men at Manchester United now aren't mucking around. If you slot him into your midfield with Kobbie Mainoo and Bruno Fernandes, you've got a fantastic midfield. You've got one that definitely has a bit of balance. And if you sort out the defence as well, as they have been trying to, then Manchester United all of a sudden look a completely different unit. Sorting those two departments out will definitely do them a world of good. Now, the question is, can Ten Hag get a playing style finally? Can he get them winning? Can he get them playing good football? That is a huge question mark for many football fans, Man United and rival fans alike. Is Ten Hag the right guy? Well, I think he's got 10 to 12 games to prove it. Otherwise, I think these guys will be ruthless and get rid of him and go and replace him with somebody else. I don't know who that somebody else is yet, but if it gets to that stage around November, December, do not be surprised if Manchester United aren't looking like they're going to be fighting for top four by then, that they might pull the plug on Ten Hag. So that one could be interesting. I remember watching this guy at Sporting Lisbon. I was a big fan. I thought he was excellent when he played against us a few years ago. He's very highly rated. He's a player that I think will do a very good job in the Premier League. And he's got a lot of attributes that I think will suit the Premier League. So I think this one could have legs, and I think this one could be a potential for Manchester United signing. So watch what happens here. One player that they would like to take a look at in midfield is Amrabat. Now, they're not going to look to extend the loan or look to keep hold of him in that way, but they could negotiate a fee. Now, I thought he was a very good player in the World Cup. He was what I looked at. When Manchester United got him, I thought, you know what? That's not a bad signing. Played really well for Fiorentina in the final of the Conference League against West Ham. But I looked at it and I thought, didn't really look to take that form into the Premier League. So I think keep an eye on this one. It could be that if he does come in, he'll be a squad player. Manchester United need a squad. They're looking to get rid of some of their players in midfield. They've still got Mason Mount. And obviously Amrabat is another guy that they'll be looking at trying to keep as a squad player potentially. But this one may still not happen. So watch what happens here and keep an eye on it. But a player they are really interested in, and this would be a very good signing, is Xavi Simons. Now, I think this would be a really good signing for Manchester United, but the Spanish reports are suggesting that they're hopeful of beating Bayern Munich to the signing of PSG. Leipzig still obviously very interested. PSG player, 21 years old, Netherlands. They call him a winger, but I'm not so sure that he is a winger, really. He can play wide, but he's definitely more of a 10, in my opinion, but can play in a number of positions. This is a very versatile signing. This is one that I think would be fantastic for any Premier League club. I want Arsenal to be all over this, but Manchester United are trying to win the race. Now, Bayern Munich, I thought, had pretty much agreed on this deal. However, there are reports suggesting that Bayern Munich need to sell before they buy, and that could be music to a lot of clubs' ears. There could be a domino effect here, guys. If Bayern Munich are really interested in this signing, they might have to sell a couple of players. And we saw a few weeks ago now that Kimmich was rumoured with moving away. So was Kingsley Coman. So was Leroy Sané. So was Serge Gnabry. So I think we need to be keeping an eye on Bayern Munich, because if they want Xavi Simons, they're going to have to sell. Manchester United are interested. Obviously, they've got the Dutch connection. I think he'd be an absolute talent. Scored a very good goal against England, as we saw, and has been phenomenal for PSV and Leipzig on loan. Surprising that PSG want to get rid of him. Don't quite understand why that is, particularly when PSG have lost a couple of their players. But I must say, this would be a very good signing for Manchester United. They're also interested in a Bayern Munich player. This will come no shock to you whatsoever, but this one looks like it will potentially get done. Now, Bayern Munich have said they believe that he may be leaving the club, that he would like to go and join Ten Hag, somebody he knows from his Ajax days, and be the centre half at Manchester United. And he would probably partner Lenny Yoro. Lenny Yoro has obviously been accepted and gone to Manchester United and been signed for them. What would happen with De Ligt? I think he could potentially be going. way. I just don't quite know what the hold-up is, really. I thought this one would have been quite easy to do, around 40 to 45 million pounds, which, to be fair, for a 24-year-old international centre-back with experience, is actually a quite good signing for Manchester United. I don't think it's an outstanding defender, if I'm honest. I don't know what was so massive about De Ligt. I don't understand why he was highly rated as this next best thing. When you look at his comparisons to Saliba, I mean, Saliba leaves him dead in the water, doesn't he? You know, so I'm not going to put him at that level personally in terms of, wow, he could be one of the best that we've seen, but he's certainly an all right centre back, and he's definitely an upgrade on Maguire and Evans and Lindelof, that's for sure. So Manchester United keeping very busy, but according to David Ornstein, they are not going to be able to get Jared Branthwaite. According to David Ornstein, Everton have informed Man United that they have no intention of selling Branthwaite this summer, regardless of any takeover collapse. They'd only consider the deal if the valuation was met, and if Manchester United retain interest, it will only be if the asking price drops. Now, the asking price was around 70 to 80 million pounds. Now, I'm normally one who says don't be stingy, but that is crazy. I mean, this is a centre-half who's clearly talented and has got a highly rated ceiling. But when you look at a hot prospect and they say, yeah, they're 35, 40 million, you can understand it. Double that price, that's a hell of a risk for someone who's not played a lot of football. But he looks very good. He does. And I do feel like there's a potential for Branthwaite to make that move if Manchester United were to be brave enough. I think they could probably agree a deal on 65, something like that. So maybe Manchester United will pay that. Who knows? How much do they want Branthwaite? You know, that's what we've got to look at. So, yeah, keep an eye on that one. Let's talk about this one, shall we? Because there's a lot of rumours that Manchester United are kind of debating what to do with Scott McTominay. They don't know if Scott McTominay is a player they want to keep or a player they want to sell. I think what this is they're trying to get as much money for him. And those teams like Fulham and West Ham and Galatasaray, I think it was, that were kind of interested in taking Scott McTominay, weren't interested in paying anywhere near 40 million, which is what they want. Now, I can understand why. He's their 27 Scottish international, but he's Premier League proven, nothing else. He hasn't looked to light up the Manchester United midfield. He does come in and do a job. He is someone who gives 110%, and he has got some very important goals for Manchester United for some of their Premier League games. But let's be real. They are not going to get £40 million for Scott McTominay. They've got to try and lower that by at least come down to nearly half of it. If someone offered 20 million for McTominay, you'd say fair play. Someone's offering 40 million. That is way over the top, in my opinion. And I've said it before that I think if he stayed at Man United, he'd be a good squad player. You know, they've mentioned Amrabat, Mount, McTominay. They're good squad players for me, but they're not starters. Certainly not ahead of Bruno, Kobe Minu, and if they get Ugarte in. I mean, they're not going to start. So they're going to be squad players. So if they want to move, that's fine. They want to go and get first team football. But let's be real. They have to actually be realistic about how much they're going to sell him for. Like £40 million is a lot of money, isn't it? For a 27-year-old Scottish international who plays for Man United sometimes. But there we go. Maybe it'll be a good signing. If you think Paulinho went for 40 million, yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that. Let's talk Chelsea because they are linked with a couple of players, one of them being Oscar Bob, which would be a very, very strange decision by Manchester City to sell him after they sold him Cole Palmer. I still can't believe Cole Palmer went to Chelsea for 40 million. I thought that was a very, very strange signing, and allowing Manchester City to, to do that was crazy. So I'll be amazed if they were to let Oscar Bob go, who I think is their next best sensation coming through their ranks from what people tell me. He's obviously Pep's ideal number one. He's coming through and he's actually getting game time. Scored a very important goal against Newcastle in the last kick of the game last season, if you remember, and has looked to be a talent. Is he going to go to Chelsea? I'm not so sure, if I'm honest. I don't know what the bid would be, and I don't know how much the interest is, but that is the rumour. The other rumour is that Chelsea want a striker, and they are going all out for this guy. Now, Ollie Watkins is a player that I like. I can see him at Chelsea. Would Aston Villa sell him? I don't think they would. Would Aston Villa selling him to Chelsea be a good move for Ollie Watkins? I don't know, And that's mad because Chelsea are a bigger club than Aston Villa, don't get me wrong. But right now, where Aston Villa are with Champions League football under Unai Emery, with a lot of money behind them to back them this summer, is going to Chelsea a bit of a strange one when you're the first name on the team sheet at Aston Villa playing Champions League football. I just can't see this one happening, and I don't think that Aston Villa will allow him to go. I think if he was to leave, it would be in a couple of years' time when he hits 30 years old and clubs see him as a kind of option that's a bit cheaper that potentially will bang in some goals. I think he's going to stay at Aston Villa. I just don't see this one happening, if I'm honest with you. So let's take a look at what happens there. Ollie Watkins is a player that I've always liked, to be fair. Big gooner as well, which always helps. But I still stand by it. I'd rather have Ivan Toney. I think he offers a hell of a lot more. Very different players, and I still think they'd be a fantastic partnership in a 4-4-2. I do stand by that. But no one plays it anymore. My favourite formation, always will be 4-4-2. Old school I am. Grew up on it, it worked, and now football's changed so much. Let's move to the two Napoli stars who PSG are looking at. Yes, it is Victor Osimhen. Now, Chelsea were interested, Arsenal were interested, but this one just has PSG written all over it. I think he's going to be the guy that comes in to be the kind of replacement for Kylian Mbappe, and it'll be a good signing. You know he's going to bang in goals. He's got experience across Europe, and I think he'd probably cost the money that PSG will be willing to pay. So I can see this one having some legs. I think it'll be a risk for Arsenal. I think his injury record has been poor. His form hasn't been great, but he's a goal scorer. It would definitely improve Arsenal for sure. Definitely improve Chelsea, but it looks like PSG are the favourites. The other player that they want, however, is the one that I thought lit up the Euros and was one of the surprise stars. But he's not a surprise if you are a Napoli fan because he's been phenomenal for the last 18 months. And it is Kvaratskhelia. At Georgia, I thought he looked very, very exciting. And Georgia were the team of the Euros for me that I actually really enjoyed watching. They were a surprise package. And this player would cost a hell of a lot of money, by the way. We're talking about probably 200 million on these two, or near enough. That's how much Napoli are looking at trying to get. Now, they understand that Osimhen might be a little bit cheaper than what their release clause is, but this guy will probably be similar. I imagine he'll be about 90 million as well. So I don't know what the rumours are in terms of how happy Kvaratskhelia is. I do think he is a talented boy. And PSG have got themselves two very good players if Napoli do agree it. Now, Conte's come in at Napoli. Will he want to sell these two? Well, you know what Conte's like. Conte is good with money. So if they're going to get 150 to 200 million for him to spend, then yes, I can imagine he'd probably accept it. Now, it sounds bizarre because the first player being linked to Napoli with Conte to be reunited with him is Lukaku. Now, that is not a very good replacement for Osimhen and Kvaratskhelia, is it? However, they are the players that are being linked. I can understand why there's a relationship with Lukaku and Conte. And if they can go and spend money wisely in other areas, then perhaps Napoli could be excited because Conte, when he does get it right, he wins stuff, doesn't he? His CV suggests that. And some people think he's washed now because of what happened at Tottenham. And Mourinho's washed because of what happened at Tottenham. But let's be real. Like, Mourinho left Tottenham and won another trophy with Roma. Conte, I think, will be successful in his next job over in Italy. So it's not a manager that I would want. I would have taken Conte a while back when I thought that we needed a win now manager, but I don't think he's right for Arsenal. And also he's got the Tottenham lurgy now, hasn't he? So there we go. That's what I think. Before we move to Arsenal, let's touch on this. West Ham are trying to sort out their defence, and now they want Tomori. He is a player that I've always kind of looked at and thought was good. 26 years old now, England international. And West Ham were interested in a move for the AC Milan player. Now, he's a centre-half that I always thought was decent. I always believed he'd come back to the Premier League. West Ham are looking, after the signing of Max Kilman, for Todibo and Tomori as the two that they're looking at. Now, they've got rid of Ogbonna. Mavropanos is still there as a squad player. They've obviously got Aguerd, who I think is a good player. Kurt Zouma I think his kind of legs have gone, really, if I'm honest with you. So they're looking to refreshen their back line. Now, they've obviously got in Max Kilman. Emerson's their left back. Soufal's looking to be upgraded with either Wan-Bissaka or Kyle Walker-Peters, from what we hear. And Todibo and Tomori are the two that they're looking at to partner Max Kilman with. Now, Max Kilman is known by Lopetegui, and I'm interested, if I'm honest, to look at how well they do under Lopetegui. West Ham are going to interest me this season. I think they should be pushing for top half in a cup. That's what I think West Ham should be looking at for a successful season. If they want a good season Premier League-wise, then I think top half and pushing for the Europa Conference League spot would be a very good season for West Ham. And I expect them to get a striker. John Duran from Villa being linked with them, a player who a lot of people rate. They definitely need to upgrade on Antonio, that's for sure. If they can keep Bowen and Kudus and Alvarez and James Ward-Prowse, Paqueta if he can play until his investigation is sorted, then they've got a good chance of that. So I think Lopetegui could do well. Let's see what happens. Right, let's go in for what is happening in the chat here, by the way. Let's keep it respectful. I don't know what's happening here. Right, where are we? Let's talk about Arsenal news, shall we? Because there's quite a bit. We are going to try to get this signing done, I promise you. But Calafiori is being held up. And the reason it's being held up is because of this 50% sell-on clause, which has been put in place and has to be agreed between Basel and Bologna. And that is holding things up. Now, a lot of people believed, like myself, that it was potentially Arsenal trying to scrimp and save because we've done it before. But apparently we've agreed a fee now. Personal terms are done. It is just that 50% sell-on clause that they're trying to agree. Bologna and Basel. And if I'm honest with you, it's holding the deal up massively. It's becoming frustrating for everybody involved. Arsenal, the player, Bologna, and of course Basel. We just want to get this done now. This is a player I'm really excited about. I'm going to do a show dedicated to Calafiori about why I'm excited about it and also some of the research that I've done. So let's take a look at when we can get this done and how quickly, because it's something that needs to happen. So that is something that I'm excited about for the future. The other thing we need to be aware of is the goalkeeper situation at Arsenal. We've mentioned it a few times, but Tommy Setford has signed for the club and is going to join us on our pre-season tour. The 18-year-old from Ajax, Amsterdam-born, England under-20s goalkeeper, was signed for around about £850,000 yesterday and has signed with the club. Now, we do not know what his long-term plans are. Is he going to be seen as an academy goalkeeper that grows and potentially one day gets into the first team? Is he going to be our third choice and the replacement for somebody like Conquo or Cole Hine? Or are we going to just see where this one goes and how well he looks? Well, maybe it's going to be the latter. I know nothing about him. I have no idea how talented he is. Apparently, big talent is what's quoted over in Amsterdam. Is that going to be our third choice goalkeeper? I really don't know. But there are massive, massive rumours and reports that Arsenal have made a new bid for the Wolves keeper, Dan Bentley, and they hope to clinch the deal. Now, we told you about Dan Bentley before and how he insulted Wolves and the player by bidding £50,000. Well, now it looks like we're going back in with closer to £500,000. So let's see how we get on with this one. I think there needs to be a compromise. Dan Bentley clearly wants to come. Wolves, I believe, wants to sell. Arsenal really want him. And I think they see him as the third choice goalkeeper. Now, does that mean Tommy Setford is going to be the academy goalkeeper? Or are we going to have a bit of a goalkeeper switch around here? The goalkeeping position department is not something I thought I'd be discussing in this much detail. But it looks like if Aaron Ramsdale does go, which we believe he will potentially by the end of the window, then Raya being number one, there will be definite 2 and 3 and maybe even fourth choice goalkeepers now. So there's definitely a department mix-up here with Mikel Arteta has a vision that David Raya is number 1, we bring in a number 2, Dan Bentley's number 3, and then Setford is our academy at number 4. Wow, that really is crazy. How many goalkeepers do we need at a football club? And let me tell you, without digging Mikel Arteta out here, how many goalkeepers does he need to sign before he can decide what he wants at Arsenal? He's been here 5 years. This will be his 9th goalkeeper. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. So that needs to be sorted out and settled. But it does need to be sorted out if Ramsdale goes. We do need a backup that's going to be as close to Aaron Ramsdale as possible. There's talks of Lunin being available potentially, but I think you probably want first team football. Talks of Juan Garcia from Espanyol. Don't know much about him, but he would probably be a better option than Dan Bentley and Tom Setford. So I think we need to watch the space. We also need to keep an eye on this guy. He wants to leave Real Sociedad. He has told them he will not be staying. This summer, he will be leaving for around £20 million, which is what the club want. He is linked with Arsenal. He is also linked with Barcelona. He's also linked with Atletico Madrid and Aston Villa. This is the big question. Does he go to England or does he stay in Spain? There is rumours and reports suggesting that he has his heart and dream set on Barcelona. But Mikel Arteta is a massive fan and is trying to sell him the project. This would be a number 8 for Arsenal that would come in and be squad rotation or potential starters in some games. I think with Declan Rice, this could be a good signing for Arsenal. But is he going to want to join? It's going to be really hard to get him tempted when Barcelona are sniffing around him. And of course, Atletico Madrid, where I think both would be good moves for him if he wants to stay in Spain. It's definitely an upgrade from Sociedad up to Madrid or Barcelona, of course. So keep an eye on this one. I don't know how likely this is happening for Arsenal. It's always difficult when you've got 3 or 4 clubs that are involved. But a lot of Arsenal fans I speak to would be happy with this signing. They would like Mikel Merino to come to Arsenal and be one of our midfielders. There is only really, Declan Rice that plays in the 8? We haven't really got somebody else, have we? So Mikel Merino would be that guy that comes in and gives competition for places. The other player, of course, that everyone's talking about is Nico Williams, who still hasn't left. He's still not gone to Barcelona, which is where we are being told his dream is. Now, The Athletic have reported that Arsenal are interested in both Merino and Williams, but they both may have their hearts set on going to Barcelona together. Now, they've already got Lamine Yamal. If they was to actually release the clause of Dani Olmo as well, which apparently has expired, but they want around about that much money, Leipzig, they could have the whole winning Spanish midfield from the Euros at Barcelona. Could you imagine? Merino, Williams, Yamal, and Dani Olmo. Imagine if they all went. It'd literally be Rodri and Ruiz that weren't at Barcelona. Everybody else would be. I hope Arsenal can try and make something happen here. I think this would be one of the most exciting transfers this window if it was to happen. I think Arsenal should do all they can to try and get him tempted to come over and sell him the project. If they have to do a Declan Rice style presentation, then go over there and do it. There are rumours that Arteta has spoken to his representatives and that he is very interested in signing him for Arsenal. £49 million is the release clause that could be activated. Barcelona at the moment cannot afford that, which means they need to sell. So similarly to Bayern Munich, they're interested, as Bayern Munich are in Xavi Simons, but they need to sell to buy him, and it looks like Barcelona are exactly the same. Now, would Barcelona be the club that come in for Nico Williams? I think if they want him, they can get him. I would absolutely love him at Arsenal. He's actually be the number 1 winger that I'm looking at. I'd have him ahead of the Leroy Sané's of this world and some of the other links we've had in Bakayoko. Even Eze, I think, could be a baller, but Nico Williams would take me to that next level. He lit up the Euros, and I think the potential of the kid is ridiculous. So for me, that would be 100% the number 1 target and winger. Do you know what, Charlie? I agree with you. I miss David Dein, and I've missed David Dein for a while. That was probably one of the decisions where we started to go downhill. 2006, when we moved to the Emirates, sold Ashley Cole, lost Patrick Vieira, David Dein walked out, and everything started to go to pot. Yeah, he did a lot of good for Arsenal, and I think sometimes gets harshly spoken about. So that's Nico Williams. Let's talk about some of the players that are currently at Arsenal, one of them being this guy, who is made of glass. He is injured again and will be for the next 2-3 weeks, which means it probably rules out his pre-season. Tomiyasu is a very versatile player, but I wish he was less injury-prone. Every season that we've had him, which is going to be the 4th year now, I believe, he has got either a long-term injury or a niggling injury. He cannot stay fit. He's a talented boy, can play right back, left back, and centre back, and is very important for what we need. If we was to get injuries to him, and of course Tierney, who's injured at the moment, neither of them are making pre-season. Do we need another centre back? Do we need another right back? This is the problem. We've brought in Calafiori. We've got Timber and Zinchenko. That's your left-hand side sorted. Kivior looks to be leaving, so that's another one we're losing. Gabriel and Saliba are the only 2 centre-halves we've got at the club. Is that a worry? Calafiori can play there. We've got Ben White and Tomiyasu that should be covering right back, but Timber can as well. Do we need to actually go and buy some defenders that can actually just play in one position, or do we just use sort of 4 and then 3 that can do all of their jobs? This is what I'm still really debating. I feel like we need 8. I kind of feel like we need 8, and I don't know that we've got 8 at the moment that can all play in that position. But maybe that's me worrying. Emil Smith-Rowe is the next guy we're going to talk about, because at Palace and Fulham are looking at this player, and they could be willing to go up to 40 million. They could be. I feel like this is a real hard one for Arsenal. Where do we go? Do we try to go for the money? Do we try to keep him and find a place for him? Well, I think Mikel Arteta wants to keep him, if I'm honest. I do. I don't think he wants to sell him. But if 40 to 45 million was to be available for Arsenal, then I think we might have to accept it. I think we might have to say goodbye to Emil Smith-Rowe if that's the case. Because for me, 40 to 45 million can get you a good replacement, and it can also put money towards another area. If you wanted to promote Ethan Nwaneri and have him as the Smith-Rowe replacement, then you've got him. You have still got Vieira. I'm not really a fan, but he is still there. I think it could be good money for Arsenal. And the other thing is, you're getting that amount of money. It's 100% profit. 100% profit. So, yeah, it could be interesting for sure. Let's keep an eye on what's going to happen here at Arsenal with Emil Smith-Rowe. And also, let's keep an eye on this guy, Eddie Nketiah. Marseille, very interested. Eddie Nketiah willing to move abroad as well, we believe. Would score goals out in Liga, and I'm sure would be a fairly good signing. But how much will we get? I think we should try and push for as much as we can. 30 to 35 million is what we should be looking to try and get for him. But are we going to get that? He's 25 years old. He's not a kid anymore. He's an England international, believe it or not. Done very well in the England under 21s. He's got a good goal scoring record when he has been at Arsenal. It hasn't been a shambolic one. So he can score goals and can do well. But I would not be surprised if a few Premier League sides come in. That's what I think. Because I think he's a kind of player who I think could be very, could get Arsenal a big chunk of money, is what I'm trying to say. I think there could be a bit of a bidding war maybe, if Premier League sides became interested. Fulham, Wolves, even West Ham, Palace, Everton, Forest. I think they could all be interested if he was for the right price. So I think let's see. Let's see what happens. I think if we can try and get as close to 30 million as we can for him, then I think it would be a good move personally. So let's see. There is some news. And Gabriel Jesus is being targeted by Al-Ahly, the Saudi Arabian club, who are eyeing up moves for both Richarlison and Gabriel Jesus. Now, I don't know why, but something in the back of my head told me that this was potentially going to happen. I thought that Jesus may be on the move this summer, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because I expected him to be in the first team playing more by now. Maybe it's his injuries. They are saying, however, that he's fit. He's looking better than ever. They're looking like he's going to be able to start games more from the wing, left wing, right wing, and up top. I don't know. I think he's got this season to prove himself. Any injury, and I'd look to get rid of him in the summer. I really would. And Saudi Arabia would be a good move for him if there was an opportunity for him to have interest over there. I like Jesus as a footballer. I really do. I think he's a very talented player, but he's not clinical. He's not a number 9. He's not one in front of goal that I think, yep, you're scoring. He is a player that Manchester City fans told me is not a number 9. Play him on the wing and he'll be good. And when we have played him on the wing, I think he's been really good. At Manchester City at home this season, it's the best performance I've seen from Jesus in an Arsenal shirt, in terms of his link-up play, in terms of his work rate, in terms of what he was trying to bring to the team, how involved that he was. I thought he was excellent. Seville away in the Champions League. In fact, he said he did very well in the Champions League, Gabriel Jesus. But is he a player that we are going to keep happy on the bench? Havertz plays ahead of him at the moment. Saka plays ahead of him at the moment. And Martinelli and Trossard play ahead of him on the left. So Gabriel Jesus has got to try and force his way back into this side. And last season, when we signed him, he was a player that went straight in and started killing it. In pre-season, he was scoring for fun. He looked brilliant at the start of the season. Injuries have not helped him. But he's still only 26 years old, I believe, or 27. He's not old. So I think we could potentially see a good Gabriel Jesus. But the big question mark is, how is his knee? Is it okay? Is it going to be able to get him through the season? That's the big question mark for me. I don't personally believe that Arsenal have got Havertz and Jesus as a striker being what's needed. I think there's an upgrade there. And yes, Havertz might have to sit on the bench and so might Jesus. But do you know what? That happens when you build a squad. It might be harsh on Martinelli. It might be harsh if Jesus sits on the bench. It might be harsh on Partey. But we've got to stop. And that's what we've got to do. And I don't want any of this sentimental stuff about, where he's, he loves Arsenal. He really needs to have a place on the bench. No, it doesn't work like that. Personally, if we was to be offered the right money, if someone was to go and offer 40 million for Jesus, maybe it would be worth selling him to Saudi Arabia. If we got what we paid for, 50 million, I think it was tops, then maybe we would sell him. And then we go and put that towards someone else. Put it this way, guys. Out of everyone who's available at the moment, who's better than Jesus and Havertz? Are there players out there? Yes. The reason I think that we haven't done it is because we have not seen, I don't think anyway, Arsenal see an absolute, wow, that gets us across the line with a title striker. I don't think they see Tony as that. I don't think they see Osimhen as that. I'm not sure that they see Victor Gyökeres as that, as probably the most likely one. They definitely don't see Dovbyk or Boniface or Watkins or any of the other guys that people can throw at me. They don't see that. So I think it could be interesting to see where Arsenal go. I don't think we're going to get a striker. I don't want to say that too loudly because it might annoy the chat. Ridwan says that Manchester City are apparently considering a move for Crystal Palace playmaker Eze after De Bruyne received the offer from Saudi Arabia. Yeah, Bruno Guimaraes and Eze are the two that Manchester City are being told they're looking. Danny Olmo also. So Man City are going to buy players. 100% they are. So, yeah, I think it could be interesting. That's all. We are done for the morning, people. Make sure you do me a favor. Hit the like button. We have not hit... yes, we have hit 100 likes, literally just now as I speak to it. Let's try and get that up to 200 likes, please, people, as the next target. Make sure you hit subscribe. That is the button you need. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. We are getting closer to 30K. We're creeping towards there. I need your support and your help. Please show your love for the community that we are trying to build and hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be here every morning, Monday to Friday, 8:30. with all the transfer news. So please make sure that you do join us for that. I'll be back a little bit later on with some Arsenal talk and some more transfer news. So please make sure that you are liking and subscribing and hitting that notification bell so that I know you know when I'm next on. I will love you and leave you. I will see you very, very soon. Take it easy. And as always, up the Arsenal. And yeah, I'll see you next time, people. Have a great day. Laters.